Hey everyone, my name is Troy Woods, also known as the Dad CEO, and today we're doing a video that hopefully creators, photographers, and the clients that commission them for work will find useful. We're talking about pricing. I know sometimes it's just the elephant in the room and the thing that nobody really feels comfortable discussing, but hopefully this video will shed some light on some things so as a client, you can help make a better, more informed decision when it comes to hiring a creative. And as a creative, you can do a better job of actually breaking things down and explaining these things to your customer, your client. So as a client, you have some things that you want to get done. You have an idea, you have a concept, and you reach out to a creative, someone that can hopefully make that happen for you. And in turn, they send you a quote. That quote has, how many hours of service that you're going to receive, what's included, things like makeup. And it also talks about your deliverable, how many images that you're going to receive as a final product. And then as a client, you're left with wondering, is it worth what they're actually charging? So hopefully this video will help shed some light and break that down for you. The first thing we're going to talk about is studio. As a commercial photographer, almost always I prefer to shoot in studio, and it's really for one big reason. One, I can control the environment. There's nothing worse than being on location outside dealing with excessive heat, excessive wind, rain, because not only does that pose technical challenges sometimes, it makes the client uncomfortable. So we prefer to be in the studio. Also in the studio, we have staffing. Staffing's job is to make sure that we have all the gear and equipment that we need, as well as make you as comfortable as possible during your entire stay with us. From there, we move on to makeup. Now I know you're saying, Troy, look, I'm pretty good at doing my own makeup. I do a good job on my makeup every day, or I have a friend or a family member that does makeup. And there's nothing wrong with that, but you need to hire a professional makeup for your photo shoot, and here's why. Because say you do your own makeup, but what happens is you could be charging yourself fees on the other end, because if that makeup is not where the photographer feels it needs to be during the editing process, you could have extra editing fees that will be passed on to you and just make your package cost even more. So you definitely want to have a professional makeup during your photo shoot. The next thing that we're going to talk about is hair and wardrobe. Now I know many times people will come to a photo shoot, their hair is already done. Maybe they have an awesome wardrobe at home, so they don't need a wardrobe stylist to bring clothes in. But I suggest that you have somebody there with you that can help to make sure your look is being maintained during the whole shoot as far as your hair and your clothes, because you're doing a lot of moving around and sometimes things just don't stay in place. And a photographer's job is dealing with photography related things. Although we catch a lot of things in camera, we want to make sure that we have another set of eyes on you at all times to make sure you're staying your best during the entire photo shoot. Now, speaking of some of the things that the photographer does, let's move into the creative fees of the photographer. This is simply the work that we're doing on set, the images that we're taking with our camera, the lighting, adjusting the lighting, moving the camera around, moving the props around, moving you around, making sure that everything is going to be desirable for the final product. So our mind is typically on 10 or 15 things at one time to make sure we're always producing the best shot that we can. From there, we move on to the proofing and editing stages. This is when, you guys are home now, you're talking about the great time that you had at the photo shoot, or at least I hope you're talking about the great time that you had at the photo shoot, and the photographer is back at the office. They're setting the images up, they're sending them over for you for proofing. They're going through, you're selecting your favorite images. The photographer is then taking those images, spending time editing those images, and then he's sending those images to you. Remember, we talked about makeup and we talked about hair and wardrobe. This is why that's so important, because during the editing process, so many times things could have been avoided in editing if we had just caught it during the photo shoot. Now, something to consider, because I know we don't talk about this a lot, is everybody, not just the professionals, but the clients, they know about Photoshop. A lot of times you come into a photo shoot with the understanding of, yeah, can you just Photoshop this out? If we had the wardrobe that was the right fit for the body and different things like that, we could avoid the extra editing and in turn avoid the extra fees that could be passed on. So make sure that you're doing your work on the front end to make sure that you alleviate as many fees as possible when it comes to the editing process. Now, this next thing, you don't really see it in a lot of photo shoots, especially when it comes to working with, families, but we have licensing and usage. This is more for the commercial world. When you're taking images and using them in magazines and billboards, even though I know a lot of us are digital marketing now and on social media and whatnot, when you're using those images to promote your brand, promote your business, there are fees involved. And I know you're saying, Troy, I just paid for the photo shoot. I don't understand why I have to pay to use the images. Anytime an artist, photographer, videographer, whatever it may be, anytime they create work, they own the rights to those images. So what you're doing is you're paying usage to use them in a setting where you could potentially profit from. Now, mostly what you'll see is you'll see limited usage, which means somebody will pay to use the images for 6 months, a year, 2 years, 5 years, maybe 10 years. And in a very few situations, you'll see lifetime usage. Now, you don't see that a lot as far as lifetime licensing rather, because it's typically very expensive. And when that happens, the client is purchasing the lifetime license on that image or images, and the photographer can't even use them. They can't post them, they can't show them, they can't do a lot of those different things. And that's typically with the major ad campaigns. Again, these are just a few things to consider when you're looking to hire a photographer for your photo shoot. And we have studio fees, we have makeup, we have hair and wardrobe, we have the photography creative fees, we have the proofing and editing fees, and we also have the licensing and the usage fees. If you have any questions, definitely let me know. Depending on what platform you're watching this on, leave a comment, message me. If you're watching this on YouTube, definitely hit the like button, subscribe to that channel. We'll be bringing a lot of great content to you guys. Hope you guys have an amazing day. Take care. God bless.